Initializing Ethereum protocol. Establishing link to Cloud Citadel. Welcome, Alita Army. You stand at the threshold of quantum consciousness.
Hey, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita Livestream of April the 24th, 2026. Ghost in the System and Alita Battle Angel Story, Part 12. I think Chapter 24. Am I right, Lee?
Yes.
Anyway, where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gunham, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your host, Creek Indian from Denver, Colorado. And with me is Lee, and he's from Fountain, Colorado. How's it going, Lee?
Oh, it's going pretty good.
Cool. And I got to move this slide. I forget sometimes that one. Yeah. And from north of Sydney, Straya, we have the Max Jelly. How's it going, Max?
Well, I'm not quite dead anymore. It was bad there for a while, but
yeah.
I'm more or less functional now, although still a bit clogged up.
Yeah. You going to be on the stream tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's good. And from Arvada, Colorado, we have Do Not Stand By. Hello, Do Not Stand By.
Hey, Creek. It's been a while. Sorry I haven't been around, but hopefully I'll be able to join more during the summer.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we've kind of missed you there. Do Not Stand By. I understand, how things go when you get busy. I know all about that stuff. So anyway, it's glad to have you back too, man. That's really good. So how's your company doing? If you don't mind going into a brief detail about it.
Yeah, my company's in clean energy, so we're doing our best to stay afloat. Hopefully, we'll be able to make it out on the other side. But it'll probably be another year or two before we're back in real serious business.
Yeah, well, it usually takes a couple of years to get a company going, I think. So anyway, we have AKA out there, Hokahay, AKA, or should I say G'day, AKA. And we got Charles Smith out there. What is this? Rosa Salazar, let me put that on the screen. Rosa Salazar will be in the play Glenn Boss at the Old Vic Theatre in London from June the 4th until June the 18th.
July.
Will you be attending? You damn right I will be. I am going to that. Now, I can't go early on. I got a competition on June the, when is it? June the, I have to look at my calendar, but I think it's like June the 10th, or it could be June the 3rd. I can't remember, but I certainly am going after that. So yes, I will be going. And man, this is like her second play there in London. I wonder if she's kind of living there right now for a while. So anyway, who knows? And let's see, we got some lurkers out there, if that's okay. But we also got a couple of guys on the stream that are out there as well. So it says Vladi will be attending on July 16th.
Oh, I forgot to let you know earlier.
Yeah.
They've been messing with my girlfriend's work schedule. So she might be going in tonight. I'd have to leave around a little after 6, which shouldn't be a problem, but I wanted to let you know just in case they're a little bit over.
Well, we won't spend much time then, so you can get to it.
All righty.
And we can cut the stream short a little bit if we have to.
Okay.
Anyway, just to quickly move on, I guess we still got the LA Fires fundraiser going on, the GoFundMe thing, and this is going to be to help those folks that are still in recovery. They are particularly in the Palisades community. We've raised almost $1,800, and you can see MaxTac was actually the last person who donated. We appreciate that, Maxie. And we've it's $1,800 is not a lot of money, but particularly when you talk about recovery of damages like what happened. in that fire.
A little bit added to maybe hopefully some other sources as well that might all help
every
out.
little bit helps, as they would say.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's the link below the image on the screen. That link's down in the description. Click on it, takes you to the website, and you can donate. And I think you can donate anywhere from, say, like £1 or $1, or who knows, €1, something like that, all the way up to as much as you want. And you can specify that your donation be anonymous, and that's kind of what Vladi did, when he donated. So did Alita Rave. That's what he did when he donated. But you can see myself, Maxie, and even Angelus. We didn't. We don't really care. About our names being out there, because I think our names get out there anyway. So it's a little bit more ain't gonna hurt. And of course, you could use your internet handle if you had to, like Bobby did. So want you to know too that every dime or every penny or whatever is the smallest division of your money is all of that goes to the greater good charity. We do not take a percentage of any of it. It's 100% goes to the greater good charity. So if you can, donate, we'd sure appreciate it. And, we'll, definitely help those people out if we can't help those folks, We also got the Alita sequel petition going on, and it's, I believe that's the same number we had last week, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. So, but it might have been 178,658 too, I think. I don't know. Anyway, it didn't go up very much. But it's still, that's a lot of signatures, and it's going to help us remind Disney that we want that sequel. There's the link below the image on the screen. You click on it, takes you to the website, and you have to enter your name and your email to sign the petition. But you can specify that as anonymous, because once you sign the petition, a list of names that have signed it, the most recent ones will pop up on the left-hand side of the screen there. But if you specify anonymous, then you'll just show up as anonymous. You can donate to this if you want, or invest in the Alita sequel, promoting it, because whatever you put into the Alita sequel, into this petition, that the change.org, they actually promote it. And it does help, because I know I've put money in there from time to time, and it does help. It does jack the numbers up a little bit. So anyway, if you can, you don't have to, put money in there. I mean, we realize now that the way the economy is in many different countries, it can be kind of tough. But, if you can, if you haven't signed a petition, please do so we can keep pestering, or as, what was it, Maxie, that John Landau said? Peppering, he said. Yeah, keep peppering Disney for the sequel.
That's the one.
And we do have Rosa's Queen Studios bust of Alita, and it's still in the box, and it's right sitting there in my house. It's not right there. That's at the entrance of my house right there. I moved it over to another spot, but it's still in the box. I haven't opened it. I told Starvellian I wouldn't open it, but what'll happen is that, Rosa knows that we have it. And when I saw her in Pasadena the first time, I told her we had it. She was just thrilled to death that we had it. Charlie's out there. He knows she was thrilled. He can be my witness on that. And then when I went to see her the second time in Pasadena, she told me she wanted it, but I think that the stars have got to align, so when they do announce an Alita sequel, that's probably when we'll get this to her. But we'll get this to her any way she wants. We don't, if she says, Creek, just send it to me, or she might call me by my name, Gary, she'll say, just ship it to me, or something. I'll do that. But if she says, will you drive it down here to LA? And I'll say, yes, my queen, I sure will. So, and then then of course, when that happens, Angelus will probably want to fly to America. And so, I can't hog Rosa away from him or something, I think. That's the way he thinks about it. So anyway, but yeah, we do want her to have this, not as a gift. We want her to have this as basically, our expression of our admiration, appreciation, and affection for our queen, because she is great. What is this? Since you recently met Robert Rodriguez, is there any update on the status of the Alita sequel? I have not seen one, you know, so I don't know. You know, have any of you seen one, Lee or Maxie, or Do Not Stand By?
Supposedly, there's been some scuttlebutt on the internet about a sequel being worked on, but it hasn't been anything really official that I've seen.
I do think that they have like a treatment or a script or something, or a draft of a script maybe, you know, to work on. And I guess you could say that's in development, you know, but yeah, I haven't seen it. Maxie, have you seen anything?
You think I'd stay quiet if I had me?
I don't think you would.
No, I would be yelling it from the rooftops. So
yeah.
You know.
And Do Not Stand By, you haven't seen anything, have you?
No, I'm in the same boat. I'd be yelling it from the rooftops as well, but sorry, no news for me.
Oh yeah, I will too if I hear about it. You know, when I hear it, I'm not gonna say if, I'm gonna say when I hear about it, that's when I'll start screaming it from the rooftops. And I'll tell you, I am going to drink a Kraken and Coke when that happens. We're going to probably have a 24-hour stream, aren't we, Maxie? And I think Chaos Nova even stepped up to the plate and said he had to help us with streaming. You know, I mean, maybe we do an Alita stream, we do a K Radio Chaos, we do a Chaos Nova, might do a stream. We just keep going for 24 hours, or maybe the whole weekend. What do you think, Maxie? So,
well, it depends when it drops. If it's in the middle of the week, it could be a bit tricky, but
yeah. So anyway,
stupidly excited.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll all be just gobstruck, I guess, is what the word is. And we got the Alita Gaming Network going, and you know, if you want to join this, you click on that link below the Chibi Alita mascot, and it'll take you to Discord. Now, if you don't have a Discord username, it will prompt you to join, and you don't have to panic, say, oh my God, I got to pay $100 or $150 or whatever they charge. I don't know what they charge for the paid version, but if you can get the free version, you know, the free version, it works just fine. And once you get that, then you'll get the invite for the Alita Gaming Network, and you click on that. And we don't charge, you know, we don't make any money on this. For us, anything Alita related is a labor of love. We don't make any money off of this. I know I don't make any money off of it, you know. Oh, we got another guy showing up. Here's Chaos Nova from, I almost said Mentor, Ohio, but north of Philadelphia.
Yeah. I know, it's confusing. I moved last year.
Yeah, I forget sometimes. So anyway, yeah, welcome aboard, Chaos. So anyway, yeah, if you do live streaming, you know, you can actually put your link in the live streams. I know Maxie puts the link for Radio Chaos in there. I put the link for this stream in there, you know, trying to promote Lee's fanfic reading here. Chaos, you know, Chaos will put his link for any stream he does when he does a stream. If you do fan fiction, then of course Lee and Maxie are our two premier authors in the Alita Army. So you can go there and click on it, and you know, you can read their fanfics, and they're great. Of course, you're going to hear one of the chapters today, and you know, just have a good time reading that. But there are other fanfics in there, like for instance, Panini Freak has got a fanfic in there. The channel does not exist has several fanfics in there, and I've got a fanfic in there. So you know, you can go there and read new content on Alita, and you know, even though it's not canon, you can still read it and enjoy, you know, new adventures of Alita, Alita Battle Angel, that kind of stuff. If you do art and video, you can put that in the user creations channel. I think there's a limit to the amount of content. It's like 2,000 bytes, I think, or characters rather. The IT person who came out there.
Okay.
Something like, you know, 2,000, I think. Maybe. I don't know exactly what it is. But if that's the case, then you can put links in there. Like, for instance, on the fanfic side, Lee and Maxie, they don't have their actual content in the fan fiction channel. They put links in there, you know, to their fanfics. So, and it works fine, you know. And my fanfic has a link to YouTube, because it's a YouTube video, you know, kind of with a narration type thing, or at least not a voiceover, but, you know, kind of a, you know, I guess it uses AI voices for the characters and that kind of stuff. Anyway, if you do some off-topic stuff, you know, that's not related to Alita, then you can put that in the off-topic channel. And I do kind of watch this. If I see any politics go in there that are, you know, just overtly one way or the other, I'm going to delete it. You know, so any kind of general stuff, though, I'll let that slide. You know, pretty much. Because we want to keep Alita away from politics, at least I do. And I think everybody on this stream knows my political leanings, don't we? Yep. Charlie Smith. Charlie Smith, he knows my political leanings. So anyway, yeah, we have 3 voice channels, and they're kind of like the services, if you're familiar with them. There's like 3 that I'm familiar with: GoToMeeting and Microsoft Teams, and Zoom, that kind of thing, you know. And it's just like that. They're not streamed. You go there, and only the people on the network are allowed to get into those channels. You know, the internet at large can't see anything in those channels. They have to join the network to do that. And of course, if you do that, you can jump into one of those channels and you can, you know, chat with other people on the network. You can even play games, share your screen and all that. You don't have to turn your camera on, you know, and just kind of just have fun with it. And then we have a watch party channel. And, you know, here about, a month ago or so, I guess, or maybe 6 weeks ago, that has been now, isn't it, Maxie? Something like that. We watched Murderbot, and that was Lee and Maxie and I watched that. And I think one of you, Maxie, you were hosting that, I think, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. So anyway, we had fun watching that. But anyway, what is this? What's this Charlie saying? You wish Moon happy birthday. Yeah, that'll be my plan, Charlie. I'll go on her birthday. That's what I'll do. I'll probably go there 2 days ahead of time, and then you know, fly back a couple of days after. That way Vladi and I can catch up, and you know, we can do some stuff around London and stuff like that, just like we did before. And I kind of like that Courtyard Marriott there that we stayed in. That's a good hotel. Anyway, it's another story. So if you want to join the Alita Gaming Network, we'd love to have you. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Lee. And Lee, you might want to give us a little bit of a, you know, kind of a, you know, very brief, you know, previous chapter backstory or something like that, just to kind of get people in line, I guess.
Yeah, the previous chapter was Jason recovering from the near-death beating he got from Fenrir. And finally, after 16, 17 chapters or so of not having his cybernetics, finally getting them and them working right. And then they went out to celebrate for a bit. And he had a, I'm not sure what you would call it, near romantic encounter, I guess, with one of Alita's teammates, Saza. But to quote Batman, when Wonder Woman tried to ask him out, he says, "I've got issues, lots of issues." So he decided maybe it wasn't the best time to be doing that. So they went their separate ways. He went back and now is going to be going about the business of attempting to adjust to life with cybernetic limbs. I think that's about it, unless there's anything else you can think of that I might have glossed over too much.
I can't think of anything.
All right. So this is... Oh, I am terribly sorry. I ended up...
Don't forget that Ito had to rebuild his face.
Oh yes. He actually has a new jaw line, and he is actually a bit uncomfortable with his face currently because it doesn't quite look like the face he's used to seeing in the mirror.
Yeah. Plus he got a new eye too, didn't he?
Well, the eye that he had gotten is now finally started working.
Oh, it's working. That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, the new eye was from the street fight that he, if you could call it a fight, that he was in, where he lost his eye to that drug addict that hit him in the side of the head. But yeah, that one has been in him long enough that it started working finally. So he's got 2 working eyes as well as 2 working feet, 2 working arms now finally. So chapter 24, Walking the Lord's Path. The faintest hint of morning light touches the sky. Turning my eyes away from the window and the rundown cityscape beyond, I glance at the clock. Far too late to try and get any more sleep now, but far too early to be up. With a weary sigh, I turn back to the window as raindrops begin pattering against the glass. After a moment of watching the rainwater form rivulets down the window's surface, my thoughts drift. First to Saza and that heady feeling of being wanted by someone like her. Then into more distant memories, random little side alleys that I visit less and less as time passes. Watching water pool in the street below, the realization lands: swimming. That's something I'll never do again. Not with the equivalent of 3 boat anchors attached to my body. Though I wasn't much of a swimmer in the first place. I used to love swimming when I was younger. Then, into early adulthood, a sinus problem made it difficult to deal with being submerged in water. Another glance back at the clock, I decide to grab a quick shower, trying to wash away the fatigue. Picking out some clean clothes and my razor, I make my way as quietly as possible to the bathroom. The movements of my cyber limbs keep tugging at my awareness, keeping some small part of my attention focused on them. As the excitement of newly returned functionality begins taking a back seat to everyday living, I find that I'm quickly becoming hyper aware of little details that I hadn't noticed before, like their weight. While not much heavier than my organic limbs, there's still enough of a difference to impart a bit more momentum to them when they move, along with that tiny extra bit of effort to get them going and to stop. This forces my muscles to work harder. This is resulting in what will no doubt become numerous aches and pains, a problem that's amplified by all the time I've spent bedridden. Then there's the noises these new limbs make. Generally, they're so whisper quiet that I don't notice them. But in the silence of a sleeping house, the little machine sounds that come from them every time they move even the slightest bit has already started to become an annoyance. And this is just the first night of having them. As Ito assured me regarding so much else, I'm sure I'll become accustomed to the noise and the dead quiet. I do find myself wondering once again what it would be like to share a bed with someone whose body is entirely cybernetic. A quick shower and toothbrushing later, I stand in front of the mirror trying to adjust to the look of my new body. The face in particular. With a conscious effort, I bring my left hand up to my face, run my new fingers along my reconstructed jawline. The sensation of the metal hand on my flesh doesn't unsettle me like it did earlier. Even with the reduced sense of touch, I clearly feel the stubble. Shaving is a little awkward as I try not to focus too closely on my new face. It's still a little too unsettling when looking at those not quite familiar features. A strange sort of disassociation when I see myself in the mirror. Surely that will also fade. I've become accustomed to much stranger this past year, I think. Putting my razor and everything away, I figure I should get an early start and head downstairs to begin breakfast. The fact that I can now do so is enough to get me smiling again. As I descend the stairs, I hear a door open behind me and figure, from its quiet creaks and lack of heavy footfalls, it's Alita also getting an early start. Then it's down to the kitchen to start coffee and a kettle of water for Alita in case she wants tea. Afterwards, I find myself staring out the window at the dimly lit world beyond as a light rain covers everything in a watery sheen. Memories of Vanessa and the kids fill my head. Times when insomnia got me up early or kept me from sleeping at all, and she'd wake up to find me quietly sitting in the kitchen so I didn't disturb her. Those everyday moments together, trips to the store, all the little things, helping out with some problem Brian was having in school, or just sitting in front of a gaming console with David, or even watching and often poking fun at a movie together with Alana. With all the business of recovering from Fenrir's beating, it's been some days since I've really stopped to think about them. The memories lack a certain hollowness now, though it still hurts. There's a renewed certainty that I'll be reunited with them. It's just a matter of time. I'm startled by a voice from behind. Good morning. Couldn't sleep again? Turning, I see Alita, already dressed for the day, taking a seat at the table. Relaxing, I lean back against the counter next to the stove. Yeah, managed a couple hours, but a vague gesture to state the obvious failure to get more. Nightmares? She asks. I shake up my head no, holding up my new arm. Still getting used to the new hardware. Crossing my arms over my chest, I stare at the opposite wall. Body's a lot different than it was. Doesn't quite feel like me. I mean, it feels fine. It's just different, like a lot of things. Understanding shines in her eyes, though her tone is almost pitiless. You'll get used to it. A resigned sigh as I shrug. I know. It's just the time between now and then that's going to be a huge pain in my ass. I manage a faint smile. Still, definitely glad to have them. Guess I shouldn't have doubted Ito. One corner of her mouth curls up. I did tell you, try to have a little faith. The words hit me funny and I can't help laughing. Her expression turns curious. What? A Martian atheist telling an ancient Earth Christian to have a little faith, I say, still smiling at the incongruity of it. It feels good to be able to smile and joke around. Well, I'd say I'm more of an agnostic. Still not sure where I stand on that whole all-knowing creator thing, or if I have any standing at all. Not an uncommon view, I reply with a shrug. A short span of silence as I end up slipping into my own thoughts, and she seems to do likewise. Then she pulls me back to the present with, Hey, I need to talk to you about something. Alrighty, shoot. There's a sound of movement upstairs, likely Ito getting himself up and moving. Gently rubbing at my eyes to wipe away the sandy feeling, I suspect lack of sleep will shortly begin catching up to me. The kettle goes off, interrupting us. She waits while I prepare a cup of tea for her, then get myself a cup of coffee. I set her cup down on the table in front of her, then take a seat across from her. Flashing me a thankful smile, she pauses before taking a sip. I sip my own cup and lean back in my chair. Right then, you were saying? Pleasant demeanor falls from her features, replaced by a more serious expression. It's about Fenrir's attack. After you hear what I have to say, you may change your mind about staying here, but I think you deserve to know. If you decide you're better off somewhere else, we'll help you find someplace. She pauses as if bracing herself to deliver some profoundly bad news. It's like she's expecting I might get upset with her. Wheels spin in my head as I wonder what could have her so worried. Then pieces fall into place. How did Fenrir find out about Ito and Alita's absence? There's also the fact that I'd never heard of a grudge spilling out of the arena. It seems to be practically law that any player grudges are kept to the arena, if for no other reason than to pull in revenue from crowds eager to see a personal throwdown between their favorite players and a hated rival. And there's also the fact that Alita's home got targeted. Alita, who has made powerful enemies on high. Does she feel responsible? Nova manipulated Fenrir into attacking that night, she says. Her eyes are downcast, staring into her teacup as if unable to look at me. He was able to do it by manipulating Fenrir's hate for me. Because of that, you and Gerhard were put in danger. Both of you nearly got killed because he wanted to hurt me. Behind the steel in her eyes is hurt and self-recrimination, as if she actually believed she somehow caused me harm. It occurs to me in that moment that Nova did, in fact, manage to hurt her. A thought that brings with it some degree of anger. Leaning back in my chair, I wait to see if there's more. She finally looks up at me, meeting my gaze. Apprehension darkens her eyes as she waits for my response. Moving with slow deliberation, I loudly sip my coffee and grunt non-committally. Nova, huh? About what I figured. Her eyebrows come down as her expression is touched with surprise. You already figured Nova was behind it? I look over the top of my glasses at her. Young lady, I may be 600 years out of date, but give me some credit. You guys have told me that this city is basically ruled over by the high-tech equivalent of an evil wizard in a floating castle. Setting my cup down, I make little woo-woo motions with my hands, who can apparently see all and manipulate people into doing his bidding. Leaning forward in my chair, I take up my coffee cup again. So, after everything you've told me about this Nova, when some pissed-off motorballer takes the fight outside the arena, goes after your home specifically, you didn't seriously think that Nova wasn't going to be at the top of my list of suspects, did you? A little half-smile forms on her lips as she dips her chin, her expression brightening. Point taken. Still, she doesn't seem entirely convinced. Perhaps still feeling her actions help bring the disaster down on her home. My own expression becomes a bit more dour. You want to feel partly responsible for what happened, maybe assign some of that guilt to me. Her brows lower in consternation. You? Why? A casual shrug and a sip of my coffee. You were only out at that wreck because Ida was looking for a way to help me. And Gerhard was only here that night because she was taking care of me. She opens her mouth, perhaps to argue, but I raise my eyebrows and look at her pointedly, cutting her off with a loud, A half-smile forms on her lips. I suppose you have another point, she allows. I have my moments. Her expression grows serious. So, do you feel it's time to move on? For just a moment, I entertain the possibility. After Fenrir's attack, the thought of it happening again brings with it a sort of distant terror. However, the thought of going anywhere else leaves me with a hollow ache. After everything that's happened, I can't imagine feeling safer, more at home, anywhere else in this world. My voice is somber, quiet. I ain't really got no one else, and ain't got nowhere else to go. One corner of my mouth lifts slightly. So you have my condolences. Seems you're stuck with me for the time being. Though she doesn't smile, her face lights up. I thought you might feel that way. Glad to hear it, Ito says from the entry as he walks into the kitchen, freshly cleaned and wearing new scrubs for the day. Keeping you in-house will also allow me to more easily keep an eye on your condition. And who else is going to know how to deal with replacements when you need them? He immediately goes over and gives Alita a one-armed hug, which she cheerfully returns, followed by a peck on the top of her head. He then makes his way around the table, zeroing in on the fresh pot of coffee. Another distracted sip of my own coffee as I stare off in the distance. It occurs to me to ask, you think he'll try something else? Everyone's silent for a moment, besides the sound of Ito pouring coffee. After finishing, he says, it is a possibility. Hence the offer to help you move out. An oppressive feeling, living under that kind of threat, no matter how remote. Before the attack, any threat from Nova seemed a distant thing, but Gerhard and I had been on the receiving end of it in a way that was direct and personal. Regardless, the idea of breaking and running doesn't sit well with me. Speaking of offers, Alita says, breaking into my mind's wanderings, I wanted to make an offer to an old soldier. Raising a questioning eyebrow at her wording, since I stopped being a soldier a long time ago, I look over my glasses and give her my best old man stare. And what might that be? I ask. I'd like to provide you some of the warrior training you didn't get from your time in the military. Twinge of surprise, both at the offer and at the fact that she'd make such an offer to me, of all people, drives my eyebrows upward. You really got time for that? I mean, between your motorball and bounty hunting and whatever else, I can make time, she assures me. You've proven to have the heart, you just lack the skill. I can help you become a warrior. Determination shines in her eyes. I'm caught off guard at how strongly she seems to feel about this. It's also surprising that she'd think of me like that. In that moment, it seems only logical to simply accept, but my mind is engulfed in doubts, none of which having to do with my depression and the self-doubt that often plagues me with. Everything I've been through, everything I've suffered has left me feeling weary on the subject of violence. I have even less desire to resort to violence than I did before coming here. Even the thought of it drags at me, exhausts me. Part of that, I think, is what I've seen of this world. war-torn, scoured of human life, the old places I once lived or traveled through, all left desolate, carpeted in the bones of millions of dead. Cities turned into mass graves with tattered skyscraper headstones. Assuming even ruins survived the horrendous weapons they must have used to try and exterminate each other. It also comes down to the matter of my faith, my voluntary following of Christ's example. He raised his hands in anger exactly once while on this earth, and that was to purge the merchants and moneylenders who sought to profit off visitors to his Father's temple. Even when threatened with arrest and execution, Jesus refused to shed blood or to strike a blow in his own defense. Granted, the circumstances of his case were rather different from my own. But still, if I am to live by his example in this world, then what am I to do? After Fenrir's attack, I can't help wondering, just how true to my faith have I been? If I accept her offer, take on this warrior's path, would it be a step too far? An eternal soul is a terribly valuable thing to gamble with. An eternal damnation is a heavy price to pay for a misstep that could have been easily avoided in the first place. A quick sip of coffee to give myself time to order my thoughts. I appreciate the offer, but I'm going to have to decline. I'm no warrior. You could be, she interrupts. There's a hopeful note in her voice. You were a soldier once. Even here, you stood in the defense of others, of people who needed protecting. Faced danger when others would have run. I think you could be an excellent warrior. You were willing to help people who needed someone, anyone, to help them. Her expression seems to falter just slightly. Aren't you still willing to? A long, heavy sigh. If someone needs help and I think I can help them, I will. For you or Ito, Gerhard, even Kiyomi, I'm willing to lay down my life if I have to. But I'm not a soldier anymore. As a Christian, I'm not supposed to follow the ways of violence or war, especially in the face of death. My faith means a great deal to me. Another slow sigh as I look down at my coffee. I don't think being any kind of warrior is compatible with the path I've chosen. Besides, I think the world's got enough warriors. She seems momentarily taken aback, but as she studies me, her expression shifts, moving towards acceptance. Well, all right then. I suppose that's not really all that surprising. But would you at least consider some kind of self-defense training? That's not a bad idea, Ito adds. It couldn't hurt to know how to fend off a threat. It's just a matter of time until you, once again, find yourself in circumstances that could get very ugly very quickly, even in this neighborhood. He points in my direction with his cup. If you were to learn some self-defense, then you only increase your odds of getting out of a bad situation intact. It takes very little consideration to come to the same conclusion. Yeah, I say, that is true. I am sorry you got swept up in all this, Ito says suddenly, voice heavy with regret. Dismissing his apology with a gesture, I tell him, it's not your fault. That anomaly, my ending up here, all that was just a freak accident. Things could have turned out a lot worse. Now, I just have to take things day by day, figure out where I fit in here. Doesn't mean you have to do it alone, Alita says. Absolutely, Ito chimes in, raising his cup in a sort of half salute. I can't help grinning broadly at them. For the first time since coming to this world, it feels like I have a place I really belong. Upon walking into the clinic, Gerhard is caught off guard by the cheerful reception she gets arriving for work. She greets us brightly. Well, good morning. Any particular reason for this good mood, or just leftover from the other night? Ito gestures in my direction as he finishes setting up his workbench. Jason has decided he'll be staying a while. Gerhard exchanges a quick welcoming hug with Alita and turns to me. Glad to hear it. I merely smile and nod while unpacking some supplies. The nurse comes over and gently puts a hand on the back of my shoulder. We weren't sure how you'd feel after everything that's happened. No one would have blamed you for wanting to be elsewhere. In response, I turn and pull her into an embrace, holding her for a moment. Her surprise quickly melts and she returns the hug. Then I step back and tell her, with how fast everything happened yesterday, it completely slipped my mind to more properly thank you for taking care of me. Gerhard's eyes mist up and she tries to inconspicuously wipe at them. You don't need to thank me for that, she says with false gruffness. That's my job. She takes a deep breath and gathers herself. Just glad you're still with us. Then it's quickly back to readying the clinic for the first patients of the day. Alita brings me aside to inform me that we'll start your training later today. What, now? I ask, caught off guard. Not immediately. I'll come get you around noon. Trace of sarcasm as she asks, you got plans or something? Well, yes, as a matter of fact. Expansive gesture at the clinic. I gotta work. Did you forget how much I owe your father? Ito and I already talked it over. As long as you get things restocked and cleaned up a bit in the morning, you aren't really needed for a few hours around midday, so you can have a couple hours of train with me. Then I can bring you back here and you can finish up the day with him. I do a mental double take. Wait, when did you and Ito talk about this? She gives a little shrug. A while back. So while I was in that coma, she nods. Raising an eyebrow at her, I ask, just how long have you been planning on this? A little after taking down Fenrir. Huh. Well, okay then. She flashes a quick smile and lightly claps me on the shoulder. I'll see you later. Then she bids us goodbye and heads off to meet up with her team for an early practice. Later in the day, as I'm refilling some stocks of medicines, I'm surprised by a familiar voice nearby. Well, aren't you looking quite dashing on them new sticks? Setting the little box of vials down, I turn to the speaker, smiling broadly at seeing her. Sophia, how's it going? Not too badly, she replies easily. When she comes towards me, I catch a bit of a hobble, as if walking is getting difficult. You seem to be doing a lot better last time I saw you, I must say, she adds with a pleased grin. She gestures down at my legs. Nice to see you up and around finally. I surprise myself by giving in to an impulse to give her a quick one-armed hug, which she returns. Leaning back a bit, I put my hands in my pockets and look down at my new legs, telling her with casual humor, yeah, Ito finally got tired of me loafing about. She gives me a look of feigned shock. Is that what all that was? Getting torn up in a street fight, busting up, stopping a break-in? She softly chuckles. Oh, just a ploy so you can get some downtime. Grinning crookedly, I give her an exaggerated shrug and say, what can I say? When it comes to getting some relaxation, go big or go home. She gives a hearty chuckle and pats me on the arm, and we exchange some small talk as she asks me about how my new cybernetics are doing, and I happily show them off. As for herself, she just got done seeing Dr. Ito. Between my being in the basement dealing with supplies and the privacy barriers, I just hadn't noticed. Concerned with her apparent difficulty walking, I try to ask after it tactfully. Her answer isn't particularly positive, though not unexpected. Afraid I'm just slowing down, she says with a low sigh. Anything Dr. Ito can do for you? I ask, cautiously hopeful. She just smiles wanly. No, just getting old. Not much cybernetics can do for me at this point. Tight-lipped, I merely nod, not knowing how else to respond. There's certainly nothing else that can be done with the current level of technology Iron City is allowed at any rate. I have little doubt that it would be a different story with access to the medical technology Zalem must certainly hoard for itself. Getting harder to get things done in general, she complains softly, jerking a thumb over her shoulder. Even carrying groceries home is starting to take more out of me. She shakes her head slowly in the way people do when they wonder where the time went. Would you care for some help? I ask. She seems momentarily surprised at my offer. I'd love some, but aren't you busy? I gesture at the cabinet I was in the middle of restocking. Just about finished up here, and I can see if they'll need me anytime soon. Takes only a few moments to complete restocking, then I approach Gerhard as she's standing by during Ito's treatment of another patient, a rather worn-looking man of about 40 whose gangly prosthetic arm has been seizing up on him. Once they've acknowledged my presence, I ask, would it be all right if I gave Sophia here some assistance getting her things home? Ito glances up at Gerhard. Anything serious in the waiting room? Gerhard replies, nothing just the two of us can't handle. She flashes a friendly smile at Sophia. So I don't see why not. Be careful, Ito advises me, agreeing with his nurse's assessment. After assuring them that I'll stay on my toes, I put on my hat and jacket, then pick up Sophia's 2 bags of groceries off a nearby counter before following her out into the streets. The two of us make our way with Sophia prattling on about various things. It's obvious she's happy to have someone to talk to, and I try to stay engaged while also keeping an eye out for trouble. The walk's a bit longer than I'd expected. Even after all this time here, I keep forgetting just how big the neighborhood is. To be fair, though, I haven't really been outside much. Something that'll have to change. I find myself feeling on edge being out here in the street. Along the way, Sophia is forced to pause to catch her breath. "Sorry to drag you out here like this," she says, unnecessarily apologetic. "Times like this, I really miss Alondra." Waiting patiently, I ask, "Were you too close?" Sophia nods. "She was practically a daughter to me. Never had children of my own, but some families near you came to trust me enough that they asked me to watch their own kids if something came up they had to deal with. Me and Alondra didn't get real close, though, until after her parents kicked her out of the house to make room for another child on the way. She was still just a kid, but was old enough for most work. I took her in for a while, let her stay for a few years until she really got herself going. We helped each other out." A deep breath and a brush at her worn work pants, and Sophia gets us moving again. "She got older, but never moved out of the building we lived in. So we stayed in touch, and she helped me when I needed it." Oh, and smile, which got to be more often as the years went on. She was such a dear. Smile fades and sadness shadows the old woman's features. Then she changed. Though I'm guessing it might be more accurate to say she was changed. A moment of silence passes, then I work up the courage to ask, "What happened?" Sophia's jaw clenches momentarily before speaking. "Bunch of young guys started hanging about. They'd holler at her the way young'uns holler at someone that's caught their eye. Didn't think nothing of it. Wasn't nothing out of the ordinary. Then one day Alondra was late to meet me for an outing." She falls silent, her jaw clenched again. "Those same guys started hanging around more often after that. Only now they'd be acting more familiar towards her. Thing is, she was petrified of them. She'd go stiff and quiet, like someone facing down a dangerous animal they're trying not to set off. Wasn't more than a few days when she chopped off her hair, started wearing loose clothes, all baggy-like." Weary anger seeps into her voice. I could guess what had happened. Tense silence. I make an observation. "Guessing there wasn't anyone who could help?" Sophia scoffs. "Course not. Alondra didn't really have any family at that point, no one who'd care. Just me, an old woman with too many scars. Since I couldn't prove anything, no one was willing to risk themselves on hearsay. Best I could do was convince some locals to chase those boys off." Bitterness scores her words. Had that much pull, at least. Damage was done by then, though. Alondra put on a decent act, but it was all like she kept dying inside. "Shit," is all I can quietly utter. "Sorry, I didn't mean to." "It's all right," she interrupts, her voice stern yet not unfriendly. "It's good to remember her, even if it hurts." She cuts a glance at me. "Just out of curiosity, you keep her necklace?" Momentarily surprised that the old woman knows about that, I use my free hand to pull it out from under my shirt and show it to her. Sophia smiles. "Glad of that. Plan on keeping it? Won't be worth much to sell." Putting the pendant away, I shake my head. "Nah, I figured I'd keep it. She seems like someone worth remembering, even if I never got to know her." Sophia chuckles dryly and pats me on the back. "Good man. Nice to have good men around, like you and Doc Ito. Zalem knows we could use more of them." We continue on in companionable silence after that. Talk of Alondra brings to me the memory of another young woman I met a lifetime ago. That young woman was someone I'd met when I was in the Air Force hospital in the mental ward. It's been over 30 years since that hospital, and that young woman's name is now lost, but I remember her. How tired she seemed. Not tired in the way of physical weariness, but tired of life in general. Tired of continuing along a path that held nothing but pain that didn't ever seem to end. The young woman was a dependent of an officer who was stationed at Travis. She'd been raped some years prior by someone she really thought was a friend. I don't remember the specifics she was willing to discuss, but I do remember that she'd try to put it behind her as best she could and live her life again. But the pain and casual callousness of those around her, especially the family she should have been able to lean on, eventually twisted her up inside. Her botched suicide attempt landed her in that hospital at Travis Air Force Base where the two of us met. She tried to put on that mask of normal, but talking with her, I'd get glimpses of that exhausted rage and pain. She was just done with life, with people, and she no longer saw any point in continuing. I could also see something else in her. A desperate desire, like a drowning victim searching for a lifeline, to find some reason that would make it all worthwhile once more. I wonder if she ever found that reason. I really hope so. My mind continues on, spinning through all the horror stories that have collected in it over the course of my life. The terrible things people have done to others, the terrible things people have suffered because of others. Eventually it spirals right back around to Alondra. She had suffered the same as that young lady I'd met in the hospital, and had taken steps to try and be less of a target. But there's every possibility that, despite her attempts, it happened again. In a place like this, once someone is seen as easy prey, other predators will pay a visit. The pain she'd fought against had finally worn down her defenses and overwhelmed her. She became blinded to any possibility of a future. Eventually, even hope abandons you, and pain is all that's left. Living, if you can call it that, doesn't seem worth the effort. Londra's words when she gave me the necklace echo in my head. It's just too bad she couldn't have come along sooner. Perhaps a wish that, had Alita been around, things would have been different. The words she spoke when she placed the necklace in my hand take on a haunting quality. I don't need it anymore, she'd said. There's a strong possibility that one or more of her attackers were people she knew, maybe even thought she could trust. Could be how they got to her in the first place. She saw a friendly face and opened the door to them. And to have them turn on her like that, to be betrayed like that. If that had happened to Vanessa or any of the kids, I don't know what I'd have done. I banished the unwanted imaginings trying to force their way into my mind. Once, while much younger, it almost happened to me, though I was too young at the time to recognize it for what it was. An older boy had decided, for whatever twisted reason, he was going to have me. It was just blind luck that I escaped him. Feeling embarrassed and humiliated even from just a close call, I never told anyone what had happened. I was fortunate enough to never have to see that kid again. Slow-boiling rage begins building in me. I don't quite realize it until Sophia speaks more loudly at me. Jason? Her concerned eyes gaze at me. My jaw is clenched, as is my right fist, sending pain shooting up past my wrist. I loosen them, forcing my muscles to relax. Yeah, sorry, just got lost in thought there. She casts a critical eye at me. Careful about that. Not a safe habit to fall into when you're walking the streets. Abashed, I nod. Yeah, I know. We reach her apartment building and head into the wide-open, arching double doors, only to be stopped by 4 young men and a couple women. From their dress, they look to be part of a local gang. Hey, Sophie, one of the men, exhibiting a cybernetic arm and leg, calls out as they move to block our path. Who's this you bringing into our building? He steps forward, directing a belligerent manner at me. Anxiety ramping up, I come to a stop, trying to hide the tensing of my body. Sophia steps forward and firmly pokes the young man in the chest. You can stow that rot right this instant, Antonio. This is Jason. He works for Doc Ito, and he's just helping me get my stuff home. Excuse me. One of the younger men in the group, behind Antonio, speaks up. This guy, ain't he the one that nearly got himself killed protecting Doc Ito's during that break-in? Sophia snaps. So there's no call for you pestering him. Sophia's words seem to cool the attitudes of Antonio and his crew as he turns his attention to me. So that was you, huh? His tough guy expression doesn't change, but his aggressive attitude is more relaxed. Hoping I don't sound as unsteady as I feel, I nod. It was. Antonio gives a slight nod as he considers me. Here, I heard you died in that attack. Keeping my tone and expression neutral, I offer an attempted humor. I got better, I say dryly. That actually gets a quiet chuckle from a couple of the crew behind Antonio. One of the young women speaks up behind him. One of the young women behind him speaks up. Doc Ito and Alita have done a lot for this neighborhood. I'm unsure if she's speaking to me or to the others, but the group's confrontational air relaxes. His manner becomes friendlier. Antonio nods in apparent agreement. That they have. He puts a hand out. Nice to meet you, Jason. His inflection on my name seems to convey a certain indecision about me. Resettling Sophia's bags of items to my other arm, I extend my right hand and firmly shake his, keeping eye contact while trying to stay ready for anything. Likewise, I say in return. Though unintentional, his strong grip causes the damaged joints of my hand to grind together painfully, but I manage to keep my face steadily neutral. We remain like that for what feels like several heartbeats, eyes locked, though it's no doubt just a couple seconds. All the while, Antonio seems to evaluate me. He releases my hand, seemingly satisfied with whatever it was he was looking for. Nice to know more people are looking out for the doc. He and his little gang then stand aside to let Sophia and I pass. There's a flutter of fear in the pit of my stomach that I'll have to pass by them on the way out, but I put it aside. While I'm inclined to believe that it was only Sophia's presence that persuaded them to back down, could be that they're exactly what they appear to be. Denizens of this building who, after being inspired by Alita, have decided to start cleaning up their little corner of this world. We pass by a scattering of people on the way out as we head farther into the building. With the elevator out and looking like it's been out for quite some time, Sophia leads me to the stairwell. We enter it, and I'm hit with the smell of old vomit, piss, and mold, and possibly worse. The two of us climb a few flights of steps, past a couple people slumped in corners of the stairwell, seemingly unconscious, probably sleeping off alcohol or something stronger. After making our way through graffiti-adorned halls, we come to her apartment door. She takes her shopping from me and says in a low voice, "You don't mind, Antonio. I practically helped raise him and have his crew when their parents needed an extra pair of hands. They can be a bit rough, but him and his little band are just trying to follow Alita's example in their own way. We used to have all sorts come here causing trouble, but Antonio and his crew have helped settle things down a bit." Allowing a faint smile, I nod. Well, that's good to hear. With another nod, I gesture towards her worn and patchy apartment door. You gonna be all right from here? I'll be fine, she assures me cheerfully. You head on back. Be safe. We part ways with a final goodbye, and I make my way back down to the ground floor lobby. As I pass Antonio and his group, I give a slight tip of my hat to them as I head for the door, uncertain of what else I should do, and feeling it rude to simply ignore them after our previous interaction. I'm relieved to see them nod in return. Sophia's explanation about Antonio and his little crew brings to mind memories of the neighborhood watch programs from back home. It gets me thinking. Just as I exit the building, a familiar voice calls to me. Hey, you're not trying to skip class on the first day, are you? Coming to a stop, I turn to see Alita leaning against the wall of the building, just outside the mouth of a narrow alley. She wears a plain hoodie, hood pulled up to cover her head so as to cut down on unwanted attention. Weaving through the relatively thin foot traffic, I make my way over to her. As I get closer, I can see that a little farther into the alley behind her is one of those single-wheeled gyro bikes, this one dark color. On the contrary, I tell her, it's just heading back. I gesture towards the bike. I take it we're going to be riding that? Yep. She pushes off from the wall and walks over to the gyro bike, mounting it gracefully. Hop on, she orders, gesturing sharply with her head towards the seat behind her. I stay where I am. Got a helmet? I ask, visions of me splattering all over the pavement flitting through my head. I used to own a motorbike in Alaska when I was younger. Couldn't keep the damn thing upright if my life depended on it and crashed frequently. I've since learned to hate motorbikes and haven't ridden one since I was a teenager. One with half as many wheels is less appealing. She leans forward, resting her forearms on the handlebars. Nope, you'll just have to trust my driving. The confidence she radiates banishes some of my misgivings. She straightens up, starts the engine, and pats the seat behind her. Letting out a long, suffering sigh, I step forward and climb onto the bike behind her, wrapping my left arm around her midsection and, figuring I know how this is going to go, securing my hat firmly on my head with the other hand. She kicks the bike into gear and, after waiting for the foot traffic to clear, rockets out of the alley and into the street. Making a sharp turn, she slips between vehicles smoothly and accelerates, heading inward towards the scrap heap. The wind whips at my hat, trying to rip it off my head. Arm wrapped Arm wrapped around her small but dense body, I quietly watch as the city whips past us at breakneck speeds, and she exhibits seemingly supernatural reflexes as she dances the gyro bike around varying concentrations of traffic, both pedestrian and vehicular. It's an exhilarating, breathtaking ride, like flying at ground level. Our journey takes us much closer to the scrap heap than I've ever been, allowing me to catch a glimpse of the small mountain of garbage in the distance between the buildings. It also allows me a better whiff of its distinctive odor. We are now right under Zalem, the floating city taking up most of the sky, except for wide ribbons of blue around the horizon. She pulls up to a stop beside a large warehouse-looking building. Next to where she parks are a number of covered outdoor stalls, each equipped with sturdy-looking metal gates and a heavily protected electronic lock of some sort. She dismounts and I quickly follow suit, pausing to straighten my hat. Going over to unlock the gate to the stall in front of us, she asks breezily, "That wasn't so bad, was it?" Adjusting my jacket, I lift one side of my mouth and a half smile. "No, that was actually rather fun." She flashes a pleased smile and unlocks the gate. Still not really looking to make a habit of riding the damn thing. Though if she's giving me rides out here, a habit of what I'll be making of it. I stifle another sigh at the thought. She puts the bike in neutral and rolls it into the stall, locking the stout gate behind it. Moving past me, she motions for me to follow. We head into the entrance, passing a couple of the people heading the other way. One of them, a rather spindly cyborg, tall enough that he has to duck quite a bit to get to the large doorway. I try not to stare after the odd-looking individual. Continuing on, we pass by what I assume is some kind of reception counter. Behind it sits a rather heavy-set man, a thin, unlit cigar in his mouth, reading a magazine of some kind. "Hey, Angel," the man greets her in a casual, friendly fashion, keeping his eyes on the magazine. "Hello," she returns lightly. "Not working too hard?" The man returns a single, sarcastic guffaw as we enter a staircase. The stairs descending downward are blocked by a very heavy gate. We take the stairs heading upward. As we go, I ask idly after the man behind the counter, "Friend of yours?" He shrugs absently. "I think he runs this place. At the very least, he runs the front desk. He's friendly enough, and he deals fairly." Her expression becomes momentarily thoughtful. "I can't ever seem to remember his name, though. I'm usually pretty good with names, but for some reason, his never sticks." The words of that otherworldly stranger come back to me when he taught me that meditation. You will go dim in the minds of others. They will tend to overlook you, finding you less important. Is that what it's doing? Making me so unremarkable in others' minds that I'm not worth remembering? My musings are put aside as we reach an upper floor, and Alita pauses to unlock a large metal sliding door. She pushes it open. We enter into a room that looks like it might take up half the building, and she closes it behind us. From the mismatched look of some of the structure, this upper level might have been added sometime after the building was constructed. Slate gray mats that don't look much softer than the concrete floor under them lie in a large square that covers much of the central floor of the rectangular room. Various items that could only be martial arts training equipment are placed neatly around the room, stowed in racks and on stands. I even recognize some of it. Much of it appears to be constructed of salvage, though skillfully put together. "Big room," I say aloud, my inner kid immediately disappointed at the lack of echo. Alita removes her boots and steps onto the mat, taking a few steps with bare feet. Then she turns to me, spreading her arms outward in a brief, expansive gesture. "I've been renting it for several months now. Don't use it as much as I used to. For a while, I'd come here to practice and be alone after..." She catches herself, almost visibly switching gears. "When I was forced down to third league by the league office." "Ah, so it's your sanctuary." "I suppose in a way it is, yes. It's also big enough that I don't have to worry about accidentally damaging a wall or the ceiling when practicing maneuvers." "Okay, so, what now?" "Hat, jacket, boots, over there on the bench," she says with a gesture to one of the couple of benches bolted to the wall near the door. "Then you're going to step onto the mat here and take a swing at me." I stare at her, allied for a second. Then I blink and say with exaggerated enthusiasm, "Oh, it's like a reverse IQ test. You're going to measure how stupid I am." Hands on hips, she shoots back a deadpan. "Already got an idea of that. You went up against two heavily augmented cyborgs with nothing but your bare hands and good intentions. Her features softened with a smile. Not real smart, but very brave. Becoming serious again. I need to get an idea of what I'm working with. Heading over to the indicated bench, I take off my hat and jacket, lay them on the bench, and sit down to undo my boots. Scoffing, I tell her, had to have my body rebuilt after both encounters. Seems to me you ain't got a lot to work with. Let me be the judge of that. Getting up, I head over to the mat, then stop short, remembering my glasses. Setting them safely on my hat, I make my way back over to the mat, stand in front of Alita, about 2 meters from her. Then I just look at her, waiting. Years-old habits kicking in, making me wait for the instructor's say-so. She assumes a relaxed stance, hands resting loosely behind her back. Take a swing at me, she orders. Stepping forward, I cock back my arm, preparing to throw a punch. Then stop before I can take a second step, feeling like the breath sucked out of my lungs. It's like getting kicked in the chest, only without the physical impact. A distant terror and dread starts filling me. Taking a step back, I lower my hands and look down at them, feeling them weaken my vision, going unfocused. Inside my head, something is screaming, "What the fuck am I doing?" Intense images of Fenrir hammering down on me flash through my head. The bottom falls out of my stomach. Shattered images of laying there helpless, powerless as he did his best to beat me to death before Gerheads could send him running. Alita must have seen something of my internal struggle, because her expression immediately shifts to concern as she crosses the distance between us, hesitantly reaching out to me. "Hey, you all right?" she asks, worried. Her voice sounds muffled and distant over the pulse pounding in my ears. Breathlessly, as if from hours of exertion, I tell her, "Yeah, I just need a..." The air seems to thicken, my lungs laboring to pull it in as if through a gel membrane. The room starts spinning. A creeping numbness overcomes me. I sink to my knees on the mat as my muscles weaken and stop obeying me. I try to sink into a kneeling position and mostly succeed. Closing my eyes, I begin slow, deliberate breathing, body sagging under gravity's pull. It's an almost unbearable effort not to fall over. There's a sound of movement, and all is quiet except for the muted sounds of the city outside, my breath passing in and out through my nose. After some moments, the sickening feeling subsides, the terror fades, and my emotions stabilize. Opening my eyes, I'm a little surprised by the sight of Alita sitting opposite me, legs crossed, hands resting on her knees, palms up, eyes closed in what appears to be a sort of meditation of her own. Now physically and emotionally relieved, I'm able to sit up straight. I take in a deep breath, slowly blow it out in a loud sigh. Eyes still closed, Alita asks, "Better?" Another shorter sigh. I tell her, "Yeah, much." Embarrassment prompts me to say, "Sorry." Her eyes snap open and she looks at me intently. "Don't apologize. Ito and I discussed how we might deal with this, about these wounds that don't show." Her lips form a frown, gaze the slightest bit downcast. "He and I both know a little something about that, and we both know you've been hurt badly beyond just the physical." Her gaze then flickers over her hands as she flexes them, straightening the fingers, then relaxing them. "Do you feel unsafe with me?" she asks. Frowning, I look back at her, turning her question over in my mind. I find myself a little unnerved at just what kind of psychological damage Fenrir might have left me with. Finally, I answer, "No." She's silent for a heartbeat. "I didn't bring you here to hurt you, and you certainly can't hurt me. As much as I'm going to push you to try and go a little further, stretch yourself a little more, I'm not going to take control from you. If you feel need to take a moment at any time, you let me know. Understand?" A flash of annoyance, my ego balking at the idea that she's talking down to me. But I quickly realize that those words are for the part of me that still needs convincing. The wounded part that went into meltdown just now, that's been learning after 2 near-death encounters with the heavily augmented that cyborg means threat. Taking a deep breath, I try to really take in her words. Then, letting the breath go, I nod. "Okay." After a moment of studying me, she asks, "Ready?" Giving her a sharp nod, I get to my feet, more easily than I'd ever been able to before, my new legs feeling none of the aches and pains that age was bringing on. Well, from the mid-thigh down, anyway. Now, she says in the no-nonsense tone of an instructor, try to hit me, just like you would anyone else. This time, with just a little hesitation, I do so. It's the best I can muster, a simple, straight-arm punch aimed at her forehead. But even untrained as I am, I know it's not even close to what a professional fighter can do. Moving with near blinding speed, she dodges to her right and catches my wrist with her left hand and holds it in place, forcing me to keep my position. Keeping a firm yet gentle grip on my wrist, she scans the length of my arm up to the shoulder, then quickly takes in my ending stance. Letting out a soft sigh, she raises her gaze to mine. I think you're right. This will take a lot of work. And later, having been through a martial arts class before, the remainder of the first lesson is about what I expected. She covers the basics of stance, movement, and breathing. To my surprise, a good bit of my previous martial arts has stuck with me. It's not much, but it provides something of a foundation for Alita's instruction to build on, allowing more progress to be made faster than we were expecting for just this first class. 2 hours later, after going over the basics of movement and stretching with some light exercises to start with, my body's aching, and I feel like that time I worked landscaping, moving bricks all day for retaining walls. Strangely, I'm not straining against the fatigue I was suffering earlier, but I suspect it'll come crashing in on me later. I'll have little trouble sleeping tonight, I think. My cybernetics, on the other hand, feel perfectly fine. All the aches and pains end where the meat part of me ends. And just as she said she would, she strongly encouraged me to continue for as long as possible, pushing me to go just that little bit more. But she never tried to force things or browbeat me into complying. She instructed, and I did my best to follow her example and learn what she was offering to teach me. Now, sitting on a bench to put my boots back on, I glance over at the mat where the two of us went through this first session. The stretches weren't nearly as bad as expected, now that many of my tendons are cable and servos. Alita eyes me as I quietly groan in pain, leaning down to tie my boots' laces. Though I try not to, I can't help wincing as I stand up and put my jacket on. Mindful of sore back muscles, I carefully pick up my hat. You better not be breaking on me so soon, she teases. Nah, I'm fine. Settling my hat on my head, bicep and shoulder muscles screaming at me. It's just been a while since I've used my muscles this much. Spent too long bedridden. The way the jacket settling on my shoulders makes them ache. Seems we'll have to work on getting you back in shape along with everything else. So, tomorrow then? She asks. Glancing out at the mat, I mentally go over the 2-hour session. I honestly wasn't sure if this would be something I'd take to, but despite the pain, it felt good. Even with just this one session, I could feel my body adjusting to doing things I wasn't even sure I could still do. And using my cybernetics made me feel much more comfortable with them. Helped greatly in making them feel more like a part of my body instead of alien add-ons. Smiling at her, I nod. Yeah, absolutely. Back at the clinic. So you turned her down, Gerhead remarks with some disbelief, putting on the light jacket she sometimes wears in the event of rain. It's closing time. It's closing time, and we'd gotten to talking about my first night out with my new cyberware. Gerhead expressed an interest in how things went after she left, so I filled her in on the highlights. Well, in a word, yes, I say. Hesitant shrug. I just wasn't sure it was a good idea. Gerhead pauses after settling her jacket in place. Jason, I think she really does like you. Letting out a long-suffering sigh, I reply with some mild sarcasm. I did get that impression, yes. But putting aside the fact that I'm not ready to get into a relationship, I don't like that I'd be lying to her. From where he's putting tools away, Ito remarks, you wouldn't necessarily have to lie to her. I've gotten to know Saza quite well. Even if she were to learn about where you're actually from, I don't think she'd be particularly concerned. He has a point, Gerhead says, backing Ito. Saza's not going to care that you're dropped here by some kind of temporal anomaly. And if you're worried that she might turn you into the factory for a forged ID, she's wealthy enough to have no use for that small reward. It would serve her no purpose. I'm sure that's true, but I look over at Ito, working up the courage to broach something that's been weighing on me for a while now. Look, I've been kind of worried. You've still been doing those experiments, right? Ito stops in the middle, placing some tools in her proper drawer. Yes, but I've been forced to slow down on them significantly due to how busy I've been. He slowly resumes putting the tools away and shuts the drawer. Is that what this is about? You gave up on a potential relationship because you're afraid of what this anomalous condition of yours might do. Stopping my own chore, I look over at him. Shouldn't I be at least a little worried? I mean, we have no idea how this thing could develop. I think you might be a little concerned as well. He looks over at me sharply. He looks over at me a bit sharply. I have been concerned. However, nothing that's been affected either by you or that circle of trees has masked all that much. Even the equipment I put out in the circle. By all accounts, nothing larger than what you could wear or easily carry in your arms has been affected. To say nothing of the fact that it seems to require constant contact for the effect to take place. He returns his attention to his task. There's never been any indication that this anomalous condition of yours is any kind of threat to the safety of those around you, cybernetics or no. You sure about that? I counter. Based on what you found, every living thing that came through that anomaly, including me, can spread this... A quick, frustrated flailing of my hands as I search for the word attunement effect, or whatever the hell it is we're calling it, to inanimate objects. The weight of that hits me, and my gaze falls to the floor as I start to really consider what that may mean. It's that same fear again, the possibility that I could be carrying some kind of mysterious, extra-dimensional contagion. Every time I touch anything non-living, I could be imparting a little of that effect to the item, building up some kind of field on it, altering whatever it is I'm touching little by little. Every time Alita and I make contact during a training session, I could be harming her, and none of us would ever know until one day her body just stops accepting her brain's commands. I'm about to rant on when Ito intervenes, straightening up from his work. He doesn't quite snap at me. Jason! Stopping me in my tracks. More calmly, his expression now concerned. What's gotten into you all of a sudden? His eyes moving, he studies me a moment. Or is this all of a sudden? How long has this been eating at you? Gerhard asks, her own expression mirroring Ito's. A pause before answering. A while, I tell her. More so since Fenrir's attack. My left hand is almost unconsciously clenching and unclenching. I keep imagining, what if I had accepted Saza's proposal? Gotten involved with her, and months down the line wake up next to a body that's no longer under Saza's control, but has become her prison. More of a kick in the gut is the idea that I could be doing that to Alita every time we make contact during training, costing her an irreplaceable body without even realizing it. Ito's voice relaxes, becoming reassuring. As I've said, there is no evidence of any real danger to anyone else. That doesn't mean I won't continue testing to try and discover more about what more there is to find, believe me. All that aside, jumping to these conclusions without anything to back them up isn't helping. Certainly not your mental state. The anger fades and my tangled thoughts unwind themselves. Yeah, I suppose you're right, I tell him, grateful for his understanding. Still, I just can't shake the feeling. He holds up a placating hand, cutting in. This is alien and unknown and very far outside the bounds of anything you or any of us know is normal. That's enough to put anyone off, I think. Still, rushing headlong into conclusions that may not even prove true is not the way to go about this. It takes a moment. In the meantime, if it'll put your mind at ease, there are some simple precautions we can take. There's a pair of old leather gauntlets I was using to handle hot metals. They're thick enough that they should prevent this effect from spreading to anything we don't want it to, though I don't think you handle most things often enough for it to matter. Something similar while you and Alita are practicing should take care of that possibility as well. All right? Feeling suddenly foolish and stupid for worrying, I nod. Sounds fine. Another helpless shrug. Sorry for worrying like this, but fear of the unknown, Ito says with patient understanding. A quiet, humorless chuckle escapes me. The oldest and strongest of fears, I say with some chagrin, repeating part of an old H.P. Lovecraft quote. His features soften. We are definitely dealing with the unknown here, and you're worried about this unknown harming those you care about, and I think we can all appreciate that. A gentle sternness comes over him, but don't let it get the best of you. Panicking is not helping. Understand? Yeah, I reply with a nod. So stop it, Gerhead commands in that nurse tone, pointing an authoritative finger at me. This gets a chuckle out of me as I'm struck by the memory of how Vanessa would demand I stop ruminating on these fears and anxieties. I give Gerhead a nod, a silent promise to stop. She thanks me with a quick hug and heads out for the night. Watching her leave, I find myself feeling a great deal better. Just the fact that they understand my fear goes a long way to help. Still, I sincerely hope it's all unfounded fears. Too many old horror stories keep rerunning in my head, and sometimes I feel like I might be living in one of them. Or worse, I'm doomed to become the source of one of them. End of chapter.
Cool.
I took less time than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, so that I really like in that scene where she says hit me or throw a punch or try to hit me or punch me.
Yeah, take a swing at me.
Yeah, take a swing at me. And he's, are you trying to give me an IQ test or something? You trying to see if I'm stupid? And she said, I already know about that.
Yeah. Oh, it's a reverse IQ test. You can measure how stupid I am. I already got an idea of that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Oh boy.
Sarcasm is the defense of the intelligent man.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh.
Yeah, it was a little bit darker than I remembered it being. I forgot that I had switched around some things. There was that part where he was going over remembering his time in the mental hospital and remembering Alondra was actually in another chapter later on, but I changed it to this one because it seemed to fit a little better.
Yeah.
So I forgot how dark this one had become.
I believe the term is shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like in that movie Predator 2. You know, that guy.
Yeah.
Like it's your move, keyword, I'm not gonna say that word over there.
I thought it was,
yeah, I'm not gonna remove
Harrigan, played by Danny Glover, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, the guy says, I'm gonna try to emulate his voice. Shit happens.
Yeah, the Predator says that through that. I don't think they use a voice modulator necessarily. I think in that case he was just using his own voice to mimic him.
Yeah,
I think they can just make their voices sound like a human almost.
Well, I think their helmets actually do have a emulator in it, but I think they can also repeat somebody if they're familiar enough with their language.
Well, it's like Josh Brolin, when he was portraying Thanos all those times in those two movies, that I saw him. He was interviewed by Stephen Colbert one time, and Stephen Colbert asked him if they had kind of used some kind of artificial means on his voice. He said, "No, that's me, man. I did the job." That's what he said. Now, what they probably did was maybe enhance it a little bit, make it a little more deeper and stuff like that. But he read a couple of Trump's tweets as Thanos. It was hilarious. So anyway, guys, what are your thoughts? Start with Maxie.
I really liked the comment about one with half as many wheels is less desirable.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of bikes. They got half as many wheels as cars. I don't like motorcycles even. I like monobikes even, or gyro bikes even less because they have half as many wheels as that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you count the gyroscope, it still has two wheels. It's just they're not both touching the ground. I don't think
Jason counts the gyroscope.
No, he doesn't. He's thinking with 21st century men. He's like a boomer.
Maybe, yeah.
Lottie calls me a boomer a lot. Yeah. Oh gosh. What do you think? Do not stand by.
Yeah, I thought that it was great how Jason was relating with all the major characters we know and love. I love his interactions with Ito, Gerhad, and yeah, it's great to have somebody so complex and so tortured, bouncing off ideas and healing through his interactions with our favorite characters.
Yeah, I mean it feels like canon to me. You know, I mean, I know it's not, but and Lee would be quick to tell you, no, it's not canon. But it's a good it's a good story, man, and he fits right in. You know, I think, you know, it's just a good read and all that kind of good stuff. You know. So, what do you think, Chaos?
Well, I feel it's interesting. It's a nice way to set it up where, you know, maybe it did happen, maybe it didn't.
Yeah.
I finally watched on Netflix, and I'm wondering why I never watched this, because there was the animated one, obviously not suitable for work, but it's based off, well, it's the same universe as Cyberpunk 2077 called Edge Runners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was set up almost like Edge Runners, because Edge Runners is in the same universe, but it's happening in somewhere else while you're playing Cyberpunk 2077, which I felt was an interesting way of doing it. It made Cyberpunk 2077 feel a lot bigger because there's something else going on, the other story of the Edge Runners, while you're doing the main story of the game at the same time.
Made the world feel more expansive, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they're doing a sequel, Edge Runners 2, and I just sort of like, one
Wait,
person survived.
Yeah, I was. Thanks for spoiling instead of me, because I watched the ending and I want to watch it again, but it looks like they almost all died.
Well, I think the sequel is actually going to be another set of Edge Runners.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
They'd have to, I think.
Because the group you're
I need to watch that, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, you should, Creaky. It's awesome.
It's not like your usual video game type movie. They actually try to make it be, except for a number of obligatory cameos where they say that, oh, hey, I recognize such and such. But then again, the characters that they're cameoing are apparently famous in the world of Cyberpunk. So it's just nice because it's a separate story from what you play through when you're playing Cyberpunk. I was a little bit annoyed by the cameo scenes, but, you know, those characters that they're cameoing, like I said, are famous in Cyberpunk.
Even more reasons to hate Atom Smasher.
Yeah, Atom Smasher's bad news, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know a little bit about him. What's the woman's name? That one that's got the is it blue hair or whatever she's got?
Rebecca?
Yeah, Rebecca. Yeah, is she
with the guns? Lots of guns.
Yeah,
specifically that shotgun.
I watch that. I got to. Is it on Netflix or is it on Prime?
Yes,
it's on Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix is where it's at. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I got that. So. All right. Well, let's see. Well, we're gonna wrap it up early because Jason's gonna have to get ready to take his lady to.
Don't you mean Lee? You called him Jason.
Oh, I called him Jason. Oh shit!
It's obviously a self-insert, but you don't have to go that far.
Yeah, I got so into the story, you know, and him reading it. Okay, Lee. Well, Lee is Jason in a way. He's kind of written himself into it somewhat, haven't you?
Well, I may have drawn a little too heavily off my own, you know, experiences and things.
Oh, that's all right, man. You know. All right. Well, any last thoughts about the story?
Everybody should watch Motorbot because it has a lot of parallels with Alita's story in a lot of ways. And after you watch the first series of Motorbot, you should read all the books because they're short reads, but they're really good.
I've actually been thinking about picking up the series.
It is really good.
Yeah.
And you sort of it also almost parallels Alita's development, from with the amnesia, except that the amnesia was enforced upon Murderbot. They wiped his memory. But it's got a mystery, and despite the fact that he dislikes humans immensely, he tends to help them way more than he should, and gets into a lot of trouble because of it. So I highly recommend it. It's got great world building and backstory and different governments, and it's just really, really good storytelling.
Yep. It was a lot of fun watching that one. Really enjoyed it.
And if you like sarcasm, it's just it's pasted on with a trowel. Humans, do they know how stupid they are?
All right. Any other thoughts, you guys? So we can let Lee/Jason go take his lady to
Well, I was hoping I didn't overdo it with some of that stuff either. I was trying to insert some additional details about Jason's past life, how we grew up in Alaska, just
it was
hinting
fine,
at some of that.
No, that was perfect. There was no problem with it.
Okay.
All right, guys. I guess, did we miss anything?
Yeah, that comes to mind.
Chapter 31?
Yeah.
I did work on it a little bit today.
I knew it was coming.
Yep.
Nice.
Actually never fails.
I do want to get it out when I can, but I've been struggling with it a bit.
Well, as you can see from that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lee. Go ahead.
Oh, that was Max.
No, that was me, and I said I know what that's like.
Oh,
struggling with it.
Well, as you can see from that center panel there, Alita does love her Uncle Creek, and that's because he wants a sequel as the rest of the Alita army does, and we not only want a sequel, we want 8 sequels.
We want as many as we can get.
You got it, man. And we want new anime, we want merch, we want games, come on, Disney. Our wallets and purses are just waiting for you to take money out of them.
Yeah, we're willing to part with some cash for you.
Yeah.
Give us something for it.
And I guess AKA wants 99 sequels.
If you could manage it, sure.
Yeah, really.
If you get more than 8 sequels, I'm not going to complain.
Absolutely. Yeah, far be it from me to look a gift horse in the mouth, as they would say out west. Yep. So anyway, and I'm actually out west, so there you have it.
Yep.
And here's our queen right here, and of course, and she's #1 in the Creek's book, that's for sure, in terms of being an actor. And yes, Charlie, if you're still out there, I am going to see her on her birthday when she's in that play. That just tickles me to death. I am definitely going. There's no doubt about that, So, and she, I guess Lottie and I'll surprise her again, that kind of stuff. And we'll get her a gift and stuff like that, So, and we probably won't be able to do anything for her, like take her to dinner or something like that, because she's probably got something like that lined up with her friends. But
she also might have to hurry up and get ready for dealing with the next show, because I think they pack them in pretty tightly there.
Yeah, well, no, that one's going to be on Thursday, and I think it's only a night.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the way that goes. But anyway, that's our queen. And certainly she's very pretty. So as these two ladies.
Yep.
They, in terms of Jesse and Elle and Jesse, they brought Screwhead to life, So what I want to see in the sequel is I want to see Alita and Screwhead team up against Joshigan's team, because that's probably what they'll do in the movie. They'll probably have 2 teams, instead of Joshigan only, doing his thing, So. But anyway, if you can, basically, kind of keep pitching for the sequel, keep going for it, sign the petition, do all those good things. All right. So basically, next week, what we got going here, Max?
Well, tomorrow.
Not next week. God, I'm thinking ahead of something else. Yeah.
Clearly. Okay. No, this is the next episode of Rare Chaos, which is on 23 hours after the start of this stream. You will catch it on over at the Alita Army channel. We will be live streaming episode 315. And the topic is merch search. What have you seen bought lately that you would like to see in Alita 2? And starring in the advertising is a particular it's one of the Prime One Studios, Alita. It's during the Badlands arc, and that one is actually sitting in Angelus's bedroom. When I went to visit him at Christmas time, I took a photo of it, ready for this particular topic. So that is his very own one that he has in his bedroom, and my God, it's nice. There's a lot of Max jelly going on,
and there's a lot of Gary or Creek jelly going on too as well.
It's pretty good. Hopefully, he's available for the stream. He's not at work, so he can pop his live camera on and make us all very jealous.
Yeah, he's at work today, I think.
Cool stuff. Yeah, well, I'm hoping that he's not at work during the stream tomorrow, but he might be. But I might ping him tonight and get him to send through some shots or something, or a video if he's otherwise unavailable. But I'm hoping that everybody who can make it tomorrow, either has photographs or can show us the merch that they've got recently, so that we can all be jelly together. Yep. And then we'll have a bit of a discussion about what sort of merch we'd like to see for the upcoming sequel. We need to get in on the ground floor on this and make sure that Disney knows that if they make it, we'll buy it, and give them some good ideas so that we're not disappointed when the time comes.
Absolutely.
So that's the plan for tomorrow. So please join us for that.
And if you want to come talk to us after the stream, you can join us. Now we're going to have to kind of shut this down pretty early because I gotta be somewhere myself. But I mean, Lee is certainly he has to take his lady to work. So, but anyway, we'll hang in here for a few minutes. If somebody wants to come on, just say hi or something like that. And here's the link. All you have to do is click on it. I'll bring you into the stream. Not the stream. It won't be streamed. This will be after the stream is over, so you don't have to worry about that. I mean,
the after stream voice chat.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Kind of like one of those voice channels on Discord. That's basically what it's like, or like a Zoom call or something like that. No one on the internet sees this. We do not record it either, where it gets put out on the internet. So, it's just us hanging in here in the instance, and then just chatting and stuff like that. Usually Maxie and Lee talk about author stuff, but Lee's going to have to go pretty fast, so that's not going to happen this time, and I got to go too. So we'll hang in here for a little bit. But anyway, what'll happen is after the outro plays and all that, I'll bring you in. You can say hi. We chat just for a little bit, and then we don't bite. Basically we're kind of harmless in here, except when we don't think we're not going to get a sequel. Then we're not harmless. Then we're pretty, we're pretty jingoistic, I'd say. So we are the Alita Army. We are advocates, and we support Alita and Rosa Salazar passionately and positively. And we are here to stay, Disney, and we are going to keep doing what we do until you give us that sequel. So, we're going to, I don't know how much of a thorn in their side we are, but probably not much. But we're still going to keep pitching for that sequel, or as they would say in cricket, bowling for it. Am I right, Maxie?
Oh yeah.
So anyway, every little bit we do helps, I think. Why is this image here? Well, that image is there because I like it. And to paraphrase Gruishka, I am only here for our girl.
You've animated that image, haven't you, Creaky?
I'm sorry?
You've animated that image, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, but I can't. You can't animate the slides on StreamYard. So
Really?
maybe I can.
You can't turn it into a GIF and just insert that.
No, it doesn't work. It's not a GIF. It's actual video. But
yeah, but you can convert the video into a GIF.
Maybe it'll work. I might try that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
give it a shot.
Well, or at very least, I could just have a video loaded, kind of thing to play that, So the only thing is, see that these lines of text you see on the right are interactive. So, that would it'd be tough, but I'll figure it out. I probably could figure that out somehow. Where there's a will, there's a way, as they would say. And that only leaves us with one thing to do, and that's the call to action on my count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Film
those sequels, baby.
So we will see you tomorrow on Radio Chaos with the merch stream, and then we will see you next week on the Alita Livestream.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
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 What's up, Alita Army? This is Hot Toys Alita, and I hope you enjoyed this week's Alita Livestream. Please join my Uncle Creek, Angelus, and our other guests for next week's show. Remember, I do not stand by in the presence of evil, and film those sequels, baby. See you next time.
No cause is lost, if there was but one fool left to fight for it.
Yeah, Gary, that'd be nice.